computer, haha. Okay, so because I love starting from scratch, I'm going to start from scratch this time. So let's do this. Anybody remember how I create a React application? I just sort of gave it away right there.
Yeah, it's like it's npx create React app, right?
Yeah, exactly. Create React app, and I'm going to call this MUI to do.
John, could you please make the font a little bit bigger?
I can absolutely do that. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. I'm going to be swapping to my code editor in a moment or two anyways. So while that is running, I just want to bring over this web page here. And this is a framework. It is free to use. They do have some components that are pro level that you can pay. And I've actually done that. But the base components here are free for you to use. So here is MUI core, or material design. So this is a way to quickly create nice looking apps. So we've all seen how I design apps. They are not nice looking. But I'm not a designer, so that's fine. I can copy a designer's designs, but sometimes you don't have a designer and you need to create something quickly. And there are frameworks. So there's this one. I'm sure you've all heard of Bootstrap. There we go. Bootstrap is another one. Another good one is Balma. And just because, and Tailwind CSS. This one is actually a lot of fun. It's very basic, and I recommend that everybody at least go to each of these pages and have a look at what the similarities and what the differences between these different CSS frameworks are. So let's get started. I have my app here. So I'm going to cdmu. I could type, there we go. And I'm going to open up my code editor. All right, and no, I am going to update later. And let's just get this thing started right off the bat.
John?
Yes.
That was going to be one of my questions, actually. I was curious to see. I don't know if it's because you're limited in time, but are you, would you suggest like using like a website like Figma to kind of give yourself an idea of the basic layout of what you're trying to achieve, or would you just use like a notepad?
So I would just generally write it down on a notepad. So what screens do I need? What interfaces do I need to create for the client? I am not at the level where using Figma would be a time saver. It's sort of like putting somebody with a their T1 license in a Ferrari. It's just overkill. Nobody, I'm sure everybody with their T1 license wants to drive a Ferrari, but none of them should, because it's just too much. And I find Figma is just too much for me. Now, I work with Figma, and when I work with a designer will send me designs with Figma, and I really appreciate that. But no, excellent question.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And please feel free to ask questions, because I can't remember what it is I didn't know when I wasn't a coder. All right, so let's start this up. npm start. Yeah. Let's run on a different port. Okay, and just pull that over here. Okay, so we've all seen this a billion times. All right, so let's get to creating the app. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to create a to-do app. I'm not going to spend so much time on the logic and the programming behind it because I think everybody here can understand how a to-do app works and probably throw one together in a couple hours themselves. I'm more going to show you how I would design this app from scratch. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to come into here. I'm just going to get rid of the report web vitals. I'm going to get rid of this. And get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of the index.css. I don't want any of that. Okay. And then I am going to get rid of logo. And I'm going to come into app.js and I am just going to get rid of everything. There we go. And I'm just going to put in a one of those. So let's save that. Great, it can't find the logo, so let's get rid of that. App.css. So I'm going to leave that there just because sometimes you might want to have a CSS file for other files. But generally with MUI, you don't need to do that. You don't need to add CSS yourself. So what MUI is a collection of ready-made components that you can just import into your application. So let me do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create use the paper element. All right, and this is going to create a sort of a background. And what I have to do is I have to import it. So even before I import it, though, I have to install it. So let's do that. So let's, it's npmi, and then we're going to, what is it? At MUI/material. Pretty sure that's it. Great. Okay, awesome. Super. So what we need to do here is we're going to actually import. So we're just going to import all of the components that we need. So let's do import. And I'm going to import a bunch of components. Okay, it's compiling. I'm going to just stop and restart because sometimes you need to do that. Yes, run it on a different. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now I know exactly what's happened. So you need to install some other libraries along with MUI. So I'm just going to come here and copy that. When you've installed a package, it doesn't matter if you install the same package again. So it's just easier for me to do it this way. Super. Okay, let's come here. Let's refresh. And we see a big white page. Let's have a look at our big white page and see what's actually in the page. So here's the root, and here is the component that I just added. All it is a div with a bunch of classes associated with it. That's all it is. Okay, so I'm going to make some changes to this because I think that's going to make it look a little nicer. So let's come over here. And what we can do is we can add attributes here to a component to modify its behavior. So let's give it a elevation equals 0. And I'm also just going to give it a style element. So here, this is very much like me adding my own CSS. And if I come back over here, refresh, we still don't see anything. Color is slightly different, but not very different. We can actually check to make sure that this is the right thing just by putting in 11111, making sure. Oh, right. Duh. So let us here, let me put that back to the way it was. Okay. So inside the paper, let's put something that we're going to be able to see. We're going to put in an app bar. And you'll notice that it auto-completes here. Let's come over to this documentation and have a look at the docs. And I'm just going to search for app bar. And here we go. Tells me we can create a bar that sits at the top of our page and looks awesome. Okay, that's exactly what I want for my awesome to-do app. So let's get that set up. So app bar, I'm going to set a color. So hold on, let's do this. App bar. And again, we're going to update it with attributes. So we're going to, there's a color equals primary. So there's a color palette that already lives within MUI, and you'll see that the color primary is that nice blue color. We'll also do position static, and we're also going to give it a height. Okay, let's
John,
come back.
sorry.
Yeah.
So paper is, that's an, sorry, you might have mentioned this. I'm just waking up.
No, it's okay.
Paper's an MUI thing as well.
Yes.
That's just like calling out, like saying what it's, everything is laying on top of.
Exactly. So here,
Okay.
if I look at paper, you could see, okay, we've got paper, we can give it different elevations. However, because paper is my basic, giving it an elevation basically gives it this cool border shadow, the shadow here. And since it's taking up the full screen, there's no point. It doesn't need a shadow. Okay. So I've created the app bar, and you could see that it's that cool blue. And you can also see, again, there's this shadow here. I didn't have to add any of my own CSS. This is part of the material design language, so to speak. All right, what else do I want? I want a toolbar. So let's come over. I'm just going to close these, and I'm going to come over to toolbar, and there we go. Not in data grid. And toolbar, okay. Super, and it gives me everything I need to know. And if I click on here, toolbar is actually mentioned in this page and under the app bar. So let's add that in. Okay, there we go. Toolbar variant dense. All right, let's add the toolbar. And Let's also fix our indentation.
So is the position attribute in app bar, is that pure CSS or is that a,
Yeah, well, that is a CSS element. However, it is part of the API here. So if I come over to the API, you could see that I could set the position. If I want to do the base CSS, I either have to create my own class or put it in a style.
right,
attribute.
because you mentioned the style. Okay, I
Yeah.
see.
All right.
Some CSS are like native to
Yeah.
MUI and some is not, I see.
Exactly. So let's create a toolbar. So toolbar. And what do I want in my toolbar? I want a title. So I'm going to use another tag, use the typography. And inside the typography, I'm just going to put MUI to-dos. All right, let's see how that looks. Looks pretty good. Notice that it is in a not the default Times New Roman font. And we can actually change the size of that just by putting in here. We can put size. I can spell. Equals. I think LG is. Oftentimes I guess when I'm doing these things. Let's see. No, that didn't do it. Let's go and have a look at the doc because that's always the best way. Typography and yeah. Theme, change the semantic element. Here's the API. Great. And oh, variant. That's what I should be using. All right, let's do that. All right, way too big. Let's pop that down a few. That's still too big. Let's put it down to 4. Okay, that's fine. So as you can see, just by doing a couple things, I didn't have to add my own padding. I didn't have to add my own margin. I'm just using the elements that the MUI gives me. I still can use my own elements, and I'm going to do that as well. Also, this is kind of nice. You'll notice that even though I added toolbar and typography and app bar and didn't add it above, VS Code knows, hey, he wants to import that. So it happens auto-magically. And that's kind of nice because you may have noticed I tend to forget little details from time to time. Okay, super. So we've got all this set up. So for to do, we're going to put in our 2 elements. And one of them is going to be the add to do element or component, I should say. And I am not going to give that any children, so let's do that. And I am going to add the to-do list. Okay, super. Not defined, so I'm getting problems, so let's define them. And I want to do, what did I call them? Add to do. Okay, and same for the other one. All right, so let's create those files. New folder. And within components, I'm going to create the add to do .jsx. And I'm also going to add a file. List.jsx. I always like using JSX so that it's very nice to me when I want to add in my own or do tab completion. All right. The next thing I want to do, even before I add anything into these two new components, and let's just close this here. That's okay. It's unhappy. Why is it unhappy? Let's just refresh that. Oh, well, we'll see. Did I do something bad? Oh, I know what I did. I know what I did. I'm just going to come back here and re-add the index.css. So this is a good place to put in your base styles. You can follow the documentation here, and it tells you to install the Roboto font. However, I'm just going to use the font that I got for free anyways with Create React App, which is here. Actually, Roboto is in the list. Yeah, let's put Roboto at the front of the list. There we go. Okay, did that change anything? No, not really. But whatever. Okay, so back to here. I'm going to uncomment those. All right, yeah, it's unhappy because there's nothing in here. So let's put something in here. So RFCE is that short little, again, you need to have the ES7 snippets plugin for VS Code in order to have all the magic happen like this. So I'm going to do that, and RFCE tab. There we go. Come back here, add to do and to-do list. Great. Okay. So let's put in our logic. Let's put in the basic logic. So let's go into app. And just for now, we're going to have the state live here. So I'm going to do okay, and what I'm going to do is just put initial state here. Okay, so a couple things. I'm going to need to import use state from React. Again, tab completion is my friend. And I need to define initial state. I'm going to do it outside of the component. And it's going to be an array, and in the array are going to be objects, and the objects are going to have an ID. So let's give a sample one. It's going to have an ID of 1. It's going to have a title. We'll say create to-do list. And we're also going to give it a complete. So we're gonna want to add to-dos, we mark them as complete, and then we'll also want to delete them down the road. Okay. So the next thing we can do is let's create just quickly, let's create the functions that we're going to need. So we are going to want to create an add to do function. Notice it's lowercase. And what I'm going to do is just put in a nothing for now. Const delete to do. And const complete to do. Okay, so when I add a to do, I want to so let's think about it. The add to do will take an event because I'm going to associate it with a form. Because it's going to be a form, I'm going to run prevent default. And it helps if I don't typo. All right. And then I want to add a to-do to the existing to-do list. So let's do that. Set to-dos. Okay, and we're going to just take the current to-dos and create another to-do and add it. So let's do that. ... Please stop me if anything confuses you.
Can I ask you to throw out a reminder what the prevent default is doing here?
Prevent default. So when you submit a form, the default action of a form is to reload the page. We don't want that to happen because React is a single page application framework. We want to have everything happen without the page reloading.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Once I have the form in place, this will make more sense. So let us, so let's actually import a new package. So I'm going to, and just because, not import, I'm going to npmi UUID because I want to create IDs. And this is a better way than, say, taking a timestamp. So, and I realize I typed it in the wrong. So let me do the same thing. npmi UUID there. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to import v4 as UUID. Now I took this from the documentation for the UUID NPM module. We can quickly have a look at that. There we go. And it gives you, there we go, quick start, import v4 as, there we go. So all we need to do is we need to invoke it and we create our own UUID or unique ID. So let's come over here. So we're going to set the ID to UUID. We're going to set the title. So let's think about it for a moment. We're going to have a form. The form is going to have, and once we submit the form, we're going to have an event, and we're going to want to target something. We're going to give it that something, the input and name of to-do title. And we need to get the value of that element. Okay. And we're going to add because there's no point in adding a to-do that you've already done to your to-do list. Okay, so we've got this add to do. Great. So let's go over to add to do. We know we're going to want to pass that function in. So to do equals add to do. All right. So far, so good. I'm going to leave delete and complete because those will go in the to-do list in a little bit. So let's actually go and add our form. Okay. So let's take this. Let's get rid of all that. So we know we're sending a prop. So I'm going to destructure the props object and extract the add to do. Now, because the name of the component is uppercase and the name of the function is lowercase, that's not going to cause any problems. If you feel that when you're creating something that will confuse you, feel free to change the names. It's perfectly fine. Do what is comfortable to you as a developer. So let's have a look. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a form. And the form isn't going to have an action, but it is going to have an on submit. And when we submit, what do we want to do? We want to run add to do. All right. So the form by itself has no styling associated with it. So let's go and add some styling internal. So I like this paper. So let's add paper, and here we'll just say, because I don't really need React, MUI/material. There we go, and we'll just add. Okay, so we're going to add paper. Let's go and have a look at the paper again. Okay, basic paper, and I want to just give it a little bit of, I can go to class, square, all right, SX, that's fine. Okay, so easiest thing I think to do here is just give it a style. So let's do that. Remember, you have to pass in an object into style. And all I'm going to do here is say margin is going to be 16, and we're also going to give it padding of 16 as well. There we go. All right, let's have a look. Ooh, I got the paper up here, so that's good. All right, so inside the paper, we need to have, all right, so let's go and have a look at grid. Responsive layout grid adapts to screen size and orientation, displaying consistency across layouts. Yep, this is what we're going to want. So notice here, they've got, in this example, they've got a grid with a container. They also have spacing here, and then they have grid items. So let's copy, because copying is cool. Okay, so I'm going to say grid, and I'm just going to say container. And it doesn't know where to get grid from, so let's tell it. Okay, and inside grid, want to have another grid, and okay, and inside
Is the word container an item? Are they just names of?
yeah, so this is the same as me saying doing that, right? Just because it's there, that means it's truthy, and therefore it will just say, hey, the component says, hey, this attribute is on this particular component, so I will add the styles that are associated with that attribute.
Got it, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, and inside here, we are going to put in, we're going to put two things in here. And the first thing we're going to put in is a text field. All right. So let's have a look at text field. Okay. How do you use it? Use it like that. Okay, great. That's what I want right there. So I'm gonna add to this because I'm in a form and this is actually an input. And also, I don't need to do that. I'm gonna do it like this. Okay, so because it's a form, I need to give this element, let's add a label. I'm going to give this a full width. Name equals to do title. Remember, I created that over here because we're extracting to do title, the value of that. So I need to put that here, give it the name of to do title. And we're also, I don't think I need to add the variant. Let's just, yeah, I'm going to add the variant because I kind of like this type as well. This is a little short. I'm imagining that when I create this, this is going to go on a mobile device. So let's just give it a bit of, let's give it some width. And I can do that actually here. Perfect. So MD11 means use 11 out of 12 width. So we divide everything in 12s inside MUI. So I want to use most of that for the field. Okay, which means I want to have the rest of it equal no polls created. So let's come here and we're going to do grid item. Inside here, we're going to create a button. Notice it's an uppercase button. I'm importing it from the library. And this is going to have add. Let's add button here. Okay, what does that look like? There's an add button, but doesn't look too great. So although it's still got that cool MUI kind of button, that cool overlay. You've seen this before, I'm sure. But let's just change it up slightly. So we're going to say, give it a variant equals contained variant. And we're going to say it's going to be a type equals.
What is variant basically?
Admit. A variant is in MUI, it is how we determine what something looks like. So here, let me show you button and what the variants are. So here we've got 3 buttons, and one is a text button, which is the default. This is a contain button, which is the one I just chose. And we also have this outline button. I kind of like that one. Again, up to you. I'm skipping a lot of how I actually built this when I did it the first time, which was reading through the docs to make sure I'm doing it the right way. While I am fascinating, I'm not that fascinating while I'm reading. Okay, so anything else? Oh, and we should probably give it a color as well.
So if you don't put a variant, is it just like a default variant?
Yeah, it'll go default variant for a button. The default variant is a text button. All right, let's have a look. All right, I've got an add button. Sweet. Okay, so, oh, notice, by the way, the add to do, that cool little animation right there. That's, so again, I can code this myself, but not as quickly as I can just read through the docs, add a couple of attributes to my component, and Bob's your uncle, it's done.
John, actually on that topic, and stop me if this is like too long of an explanation to go into right now, but with what you're saying, let's say that button had 3 components, 3 variants.
Yeah.
Let's say you're using a framework and it's got like a cool variant, but you're like, I wish it would do just this extra thing, and it's not one of the variants. Is there any way to look at the CSS code and then be able to take it and kind of rework it yourself?
Yep. Remember that when you can add your own class names to things, and you can have your classes override the styles that are inherent in the element. And I had to do this actually myself in my day job, my ex-day job, where I had to do a lot of customization for the data grid component, and I'll show you that in a bit. All right, so let's put something here and see if it crashes anything. Hello. It didn't crash. Now, it didn't display anything, but that's okay. Let's come over here and go to components. Now, this is one of the drawbacks of using component-based styling library is all of a sudden you get a large number of elements in your CSS, or sorry, in your components. Now, luckily, I know that app here is, oh, hey, what do you know? Create to-do list, titles. Okay, super. So it's worked every time I've clicked on this ad. How awesome is that? I love it when it works the first time. So I do want to make sure that I can't submit it though, if if it is, there's nothing here. So let's actually fix that quickly. I'm going to fix it quickly by going back to the add to do, and not the add to do, the app. And if I have a look at my add to do, I'm just going to put if this is falsy, so this will just exit it if I try to add a to-do with nothing in it. Also, something else I might want to do, as a matter of fact, Scratch might, I am going to want to do, is I'm going to want to reset the form. So e.target dot reset. So that will just blank this out when I add something. So let me add in darkness. Perfect. Not sure why it didn't go back to its default. Let's refresh and add hello darkness. All right. I have to click out of it in order to get it out of input mode. I guess that makes sense. I'm sure there's a way I could automatically kick myself out of focus. Matter of fact, I'm sure I could easily do that. But I'm not going to worry about it for now. That's a later item. Okay. So wouldn't it be nice if we could see the to-dos? So let's quickly have a way of displaying the to-dos. Okay, so I'm going to come back here to the app and to-do list. To-dos equals to-dos. Who here is confused with the number of times I use the word to do, which is technically 2 words, but right? This is so common when it comes to developing. Naming things is the hardest thing in development, and I'm not even joking. You really have to get everything straight in your mind when you are creating your variables. So I'm passing, right now I'm going to pass my to-do list or list of to-dos to the to-do list. So let's come over to the to-do list. And let's go in here and let's say to-dos. So I'm going to destructure the to-dos out of there. And this actually should be pretty simple. So I'm going to get rid of that. I am just going to import a couple of things from here. Get rid of that because I don't need it. I'm going to use list and paper. So let's see how I'm going to use it. So I'm going to put in a paper. And inside paper, I'm going to put a list. And inside the list. Now, let's come over here and have a look, because list actually has more than one element in it, right? So when we create a list, we actually have to add things like buttons and text and so on. So we there's a bunch of things that we're going to have to add, that more than one component, and it's all listed in here. So all of these right here are under the list, and you can use any of these components from here. So let's go into our list, and we are going to map through our to-dos. Okay, and then we're going to say individual to-do. And then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say we are going to add in, just for the time being, let's do just do a li tag, and inside the li tag we're going to do the to-do dot title. All right. And to-do is declared, but its value is never read. Right, let's actually do that and that. And, oh, that's why. Okay, let's go back to our app. Create to-do list, hello darkness. Perfect. How amazing is that? Okay, there's a couple of things we're going to want to do. And I actually think it's worthwhile to create a new component for a to-do list item, because other than just list the information, I also want to be able to interact with it. So let's go and update that. Let's make a new component. We're going to call it to-do list item.
Hey, John. So
Yeah.
when usually when in React, when you map, it shows an error regarding a key.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
it?
yeah. I have that error. Absolutely.
Okay. I
have
thought
error.
that maybe
Matter of fact,
MUI
you
is like, okay.
Yeah, no, I have that error.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. I just haven't paid attention to it yet.
Oh, I thought maybe MUI is like sorting
No,
that out.
no, MUI wants the key. If I come back to console, there we go. There's the error right there. Each child in the list should have a key prop. Okay, well, that's actually fairly easy to do, but I'm going to create up a new component anyways. So we are going to create this to-do list item. We are going to accept the to-do. So we're going to pass a to-do into the to-do list item. And then when we get that, we are, again, pretty simple. Let me just, all right, this is going to be a little bit fun. So let's say, okay, we're going to return a list item element with a divider attribute. And inside here, I'm going to have a checkbox element. And the checkbox is going to have an on click. And for now, I'm just going to put console.log in here. And put a value. The value is going to be whether the to-do is complete or not. And there we go. Okay, so I've got the checkbox. Next on my list is get it? Is the list item text. And the list item text is going to be, again, you can go and look at the documentation, but I am just going to say it's to dot title is the primary, and there we go. And ooh, here's a cool thing. I'm just going to copy and paste a bunch of stuff. Okay. So I'm adding a list item secondary action. I'm also putting in an icon button, and I'm going to get this delete outline. Now this is a little bit weird, so let me show you how all of this works. So I'm going to come up here. Oh, see, it's already started to help me. And let me just copy and paste. So that's everything I brought in, except for delete outline. So what's this delete outline? Well, it is actually a really cool way of pulling in an icon. So let me show you. First thing I need to do is install the MUI / icons dash material. All right, and then I just need to, here, again, I don't need that, so let's get rid of that. And I'm going to import delete outlined. Material. All right, and let's just put a, okay. And for this icon button, I'm just going to put a console.log here as well. All right. So now that I've got all that done, let's refresh. Okay. Doesn't look great. So let's come back here. Oh, right. Duh. So I need to pull in my to-do list item. So let's do that. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of li and just put to-do list item. And we will do this slash, and because I know this is going to get a little bit. Organization is key to not going insane as a developer. All right. No, not that. So, and I have to pass the to-do into here. So to-do equals right, so let's go and see what happened here. Aha. Okay, and let me just shrink that. So I added this garbage can for deleting the icon or deleting the to-do. And we also have this checkbox here, which will mark this to-do as complete or not. Okay. Let me see, 2 minutes after 2. Great, I'm on time. Let's take a 10-minute. And when we come back, I'll finish this off and I'll deploy it, okay? So I'll see everybody at 12 minutes after.
John, I just wanted to let you know that I'm gonna have to take off early today.
No worries.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'm actually giving this exact same lecture again tonight at 8 Eastern.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Funny enough, so I'll because someone else mentioned that they're gonna have to take off early. So you don't have to come to the night class. It's completely optional, but
Maybe I'll catch the end. I'm actually playing at the Rex and I'm done at 8, so I'll probably be home for the end of it.
okay, cool.
I have another question. Do you ever, a friend of mine who's a Lighthouse graduate,
Yeah,
ran into the issue when he was applying for jobs that he didn't really have any references because a lot of his instructors hadn't really seen his code or like knew him that well.
yeah.
So I'm just wondering if you ever do that for students.
I don't mind doing it occasionally. This is a small class. If this were a 100-person class, no way I could scale that. But I have the same problem. I have never seen your code, Nico. Like, I've
Yeah,
helped
no,
you out,
I realize that. Yeah.
but I haven't seen your code. So I could say you're a nice guy, you're attentive in class.
I mean, a lot of our code also is from the assignments, right? So it's very much not, I mean, it's ours, but it's so maybe, I don't know if you're available, maybe in a couple months or something, or I could show you our final project or something like that.
I want to see everybody's final projects because those are always so much fun.
Okay, great. All right, well, I'll be in touch then about that.
Okay, great, super.
Thank you.
No, I'm good. I'm also tired. I'm also very tired. Oh, Holly, you're making me cry. Can't believe it's week 25 already.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure everybody started like 3 weeks ago. Feels like it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It always goes so fast.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'll wait another minute because I'm a nice guy. Or a pushover, one of those.
One of your students has a double flush.
Todd, you have a cold?
Yeah, a bit of a runny nose.
That's annoying.
I
That's
know.
annoying. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel a little under the weather.
It's okay. It was snowing here yesterday, so.
I know, yeah.
Huge.
And yeah, it stayed on the ground all day. Like it
I
wasn't-
know. Are we sure it's late April?
I know. Yeah. I don't know when spring's coming, but
Spring? No, I don't think we have that anymore.
no.
Okay, all right. So I've got most of the styling for this app done. So it's just a matter now of adding in the last of the functionality. So let's do that. In the to-do list item, I'm going to create a couple of functions inside this component. And it is going to run so all I'm doing is I'm moving this functionality down here to up here. So let's do the same for toggle or sorry, check box toggle, and we'll do the same thing. Okay, and I'll also put a console.log here, and I'm just going to swap out and button click for this right here. And the unchecked box toggle is gonna be here. So I've just moved the functionality out of the template into the top. As you can probably imagine, I need to get the actual functionality down in here. So let's actually go up and add in some. Here, let's close that. Okay, so here I have my add to do. So let's put it, I've got delete to do and complete to do. Great. So let's add in the logic for this. So delete to do is going to be easy. It's just going to take in a to do ID. going to find that to-do and delete it. So I'm going to run set to-dos. And I'm going to set the to-dos equal to to-dos dot filter. When you run filter on an array, it creates a new array. So that's perfect. So I'm just going to go through each item and item.id bang equals ID. Okay, so this delete to do will just filter out the ID that you pass into it and set the set everything to the new array minus the 1. All right, complete to do is going to be a little bit more difficult, but not super. So I'm going to create a variable inside here called new to-do list. It's going to equal to-dos dot map, and this too is going to take an item. And I'm going to say if item.id ID. So same thing, it has to take an ID. It is going to I'm going to spread out the properties of the item object, and then I'm going to replace complete with the opposite. And then down here, I am just going to run set to-dos on the new to-do list. And and right. It wants, of course. I need to put turn item and take this set to-dos. Doesn't belong there, it belongs here. There we go. All right. So complete to-do takes an ID. We then map through the to-dos list. If the ID is the item is equal to the ID we passed in, we're just going to toggle the value of complete. And then no matter what, we're going to return the same item. And then we're going to set to-dos with the new to-do list. Is everybody on board with this? Please ask me if you need me to explain what's going on.
So when you complete a to-do, you're actually making a copy of the entire to-do list, but you're changing that one value and then returning.
Yep. Yes. So when you are running a set on a piece of state, you need to make a copy of the current state and make your changes to that copy. And then you can run a set to the copy and it will overwrite the version that's there.
On a huge scale, does this get too cumbersome though? Or is this just how it's done?
This is just how it's done. Now, if you think about it, right? Finding something in an array is easy, right? So we're just going to go through each item in the array. We're going to return the same item unless the ID is equal to the ID that we passed in. So that's actually a pretty fast operation. Remember, computers can do exactly one thing, well, two things. It can store a number, it can add a number to another number. Those are the only things that computers can do. It just does them very, 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 very fast. So we're taking all of this logic and turning it into basically that at the end of the day. And also complete to do is only going to be run when you click on the to do, the checkbox, right? So it's not as if it's going to have to make a lot of changes, right? It's only changing one piece of data. All right, so let's get delete to do and complete to do into, so and okay, so I'm just going to pass them in the to-do list. I get into the to-do list and so this is one of those cases where I have to drill down. So I'm going to then pass this complete to do and this delete to do into here. Right, and then finally into the to-do list item. And all I need to do here is come back to these console.log statements and replace them with what I want to have happen. So in this case, I want to delete the to-do, and I need to pass in an ID. Luckily, I have the to-do. And the same here. All right. So let's come back here. If I add a to-do, it shows up, great. If I delete it, it gets removed. And I can also check mark that. So, I'm checking it. I guess that means it's okay, but I want to have a better way of telling people that that to-do's been completed. This is what I would call not a great user experience. So luckily, that's fairly easy to come up with. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create Costin. And what I'm going to do is create a style, complete style, and I'm going to set it equal to an object, or actually, no, I'm going to set it equal to the to-do complete. If it is complete, what I want to have happen is I want text decoration to be equal to line through. Otherwise, empty object. And then what I'm going to do is, there we go. We're going to add in style, or better yet, I think I can use the SX. Again, this is something that's in the documentation for MUI. And here in SX, I'm just going to put in complete styles. Okay, super. Let's come back here. Let's add a to-do. All right, and when I mark this, see, that's absolutely. All right, and I've done it. I've joined in the chat, and now I can delete it. Perfect. Working to-do app. Not only is it a working to-do app, it's a good-looking working to-do app. It did not take me very long to create this. The first time I created it, it took me a couple of hours, but I didn't have to talk through, like tell everybody what I was doing when I was doing it. So that's pretty good. Before I deploy this, I just want to show you this data grid. This is the thing that I've been doing in my day job, and it's actually pretty awesome. And what is this data grid? This data grid is actually, I don't want the roadmap. Let's do data grid component there. This is a table that shows data, and it's a table like most tables. However, there's a really a bunch of very cool things in here. The first thing is that it can deal with literally, I've had 1 million rows of data in here, and it's worked fine. So this is actually pretty awesome. So if ever you have to display tabular data, have a look at the data grid component here in MUI, and almost certainly in your career, you're going to have to display tabular data. And this is much better than like putting in a TH and then a TR and then, yeah. This is gold. I made a lot of brownie points using this. Okay, I have an app.
John, I have a question.
Go for it.
Just one. Most all of this made sense to me, which is good. But there's just one, I think under app.js.
Yeah.
In that file. No, maybe not that one. Index.
Oh, index.
Index.js.
Yeah.
No, there's something where we wrote something we were accessing title.
Title.
It was in caps, and I don't know.
Hold on.
You know what? When you make the recording, if I see it again, I will shoot you a question. And
yeah, shoot me the question. I'm not sure because I don't remember writing title in all caps, but I could have done that because I often forget what I'm doing. So no big deal.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to deploy this. There's a few options for deployment. As a beginner, as a student, all of the big cloud providers love giving out free stuff. And by free stuff, I mean like $200 or $300 worth of credit on, say, AWS. So what I want to do is I want to deploy this app to AWS, Amazon Web Services, up there with the big boys and girls. All right, so first thing I need to do is I need to put this into a Git repository. So I've been not adding anything to Git. I've been bad that way, but let me just fix that by doing, we're going to do git add dot git commit dash m ready to deploy. Okay, perfect. And run a git status just to make sure. Nothing to commit. Great. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy this to my good friends at GitHub. And luckily, all I need to do is click this little cloud arrow button, and I'm going to put it in a public repository, and there we go. See how easy this is? Here's my code up on GitHub right now. So if you go search jbarson/mui-to-do, here's the code that we were just working on. Okay, so let's have a look at the Amazon Web Services. So I'm going to pull this over here. So this is a part of,
John.
sorry, yeah.
Sorry, I was just waiting to see when you went to the AWS site. In the app itself, because we used Create React app, I know that in the README there's like mentions of you know, when you're working on the app in I forget what the term is, like
Production?
development versus production. Yeah.
Right.
Do we have to do anything different to the app itself before we deploy on AWS?
In theory, yes. In practice, no. And I'll show you why. AWS knows what to do when it sees a Create React app being uploaded to it. So it's going to automatically run the build for us. So all we need to do is point it at the right repository. It will run the build process, and then it will display everything.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so here is the part that I absolutely hate. And that is, I have to figure out what this CAPTCHA is. So ZN4RCC. All right. There's always a CAPTCHA with AWS. Always, 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 always. Not now. I have one password for my actual Amazon account that I order stuff from, and another one for AWS, and I don't want to mix those two passwords up. All right, so here is what I did earlier, but I am just going to go back in time, and that is, we're going to go back to this AWS console. Now, I've gone to Amplify recently, and this is where I'm going to deploy this. So you would have to search for Amplify up here, and then just choose Amplify. All right, so let's create a new app. Host web app, okay, great. It is on GitHub. Continue. If you've not done this before, it will ask you to log into GitHub. I've already done this when I was practicing. And now I'm going to select a MUI dash to do. Oh, actually, I have to do jbarson / to do. And come on. Come on. Here, one more time. If you don't see ensure, oh, push a commit and click the refresh button. Oh, I know what I've done. I know what I did. Hold on. GitHub authorization was successful. So personal settings, Let's search for, I think I set it to only look at the one repo, so hold on. Services. No, that's not it. Host my web app. Okay, continue, right? All right. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to use the repository that I created earlier. So it shouldn't matter. If you GitHub permissions, here, there we go. Where do you want to install? Great, configure, confirm password. There we go. I'll just let it see all repositories, save. There, now it should work. All right, and yeah, there we go. MUI to do, woot. All right, that was easy. So I wanted to look at the main branch since I haven't actually used other branches. So it's not a monorepo. Monorepo is sort of like a sub repo. You can have repos within repos, which are good if you have, for instance, a front end and a back end that don't necessarily need to be installed in the same place, but you wanted it all in one repository. But we don't have that here. So let's click on next. All right, I'm going to call it MUI to do because, hey, why not? Build settings. Okay, here we go. So it's going to run npm install pre-build. That's going to install all of my node modules. It's going to then do the npm run build. That's the build step in the process. So again, it recognizes, hey, John has a build step. So I'm going to run that. And everything else, I'm just going to use all the normal defaults. Click on next and save and deploy. So this is going to probably take 5 minutes or so. But it's not actually all that painful. So here we go. And if I actually click here, my app's going to appear here. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to copy this and pop it in the chat for, let's see if I can chat. There we go. John never uses the chat, but there we go. So this is where it's going to actually show up when it's done. Okay, it's running the build right now, and I can actually click on here and show me what's going on.
John, can you specify your own domain here somewhere in these settings?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
cool.
Absolutely. I just didn't want to spend time and effort to get that done. But yes, you can absolutely specify the domain. AWS does everything, including if you want hosting your domain.
And what about the database? If suppose we're using Postgres, something like that,
Yep. You can also configure a database here on AWS inside Amplify. So AWS is a million services. I don't even think I'm joking. It is a million different services, and it's going to seem overwhelming. However, AWS has understood that people can be confused by the number of services. So they've created this Amplify product, which simplifies everything. So I used to do this sort of thing on Heroku, which is another service. They have their own, and if you actually look here, you can see that there is a backend. There is no backend environment for my app because I didn't spend the time to create it. However, if I wanted to, I could absolutely add a backend here. I can add add-ons. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be free, but it should be relatively cheap. And once again, if you've not signed up for AWS, they will give you, I think it's $300 of credit in order to learn their platform. They want people to use AWS, so they make it quite easy for people to create accounts and not necessarily log in, because every single time I have to do that CAPTCHA, and that was an easy one. All right, so saying that the build is completed, I can have a look at the logs here. So let us have a look. Come back here, refresh, bammo. I have an app on AWS, same place as Netflix. All right, I'm not going to get as much traffic as Netflix, but this app is up and running, and I still have like 15 minutes before the end of the class. How amazing is that? Questions?
Yeah, say like for the back end, you had it on a different repo. You could add that too in there.
Yes, I believe so. I didn't, let me see if I come back to prove it. App settings, general, right? So here's the repo and framework. I'm certain there is an easy way for me to get all this set up. Oh, here, domain management. And you do things like set up previews. So this is something actually that is done quite often in business. The place that I've been working at, every time you deploy a branch for a PR, a new instance of the app is created with your branch running, as if it were in production. And happens every single time. And then the director of engineering calls us all up and say, do you really need to have 47 PRs open at the same time? And we then close all the PRs that don't need to be open. But yeah, I'm certain that hosting the backend is just as easy to do. I would have to spend a little time looking into it, but I wanted to create a Rails app, but I realized that for a backend, but I realized that there was no way I was going to be able to create a front end app and a backend app and deploy it all in the time frame I had. My friends, you are all amazing. I want you to know that. Week 25, and you know so much right now. Think about yourself 25 weeks ago. Lo, these many moons, and the amount of information that you've stored in your brains in the last 25 weeks are probably equal to like 4 years of university. I once had a doctor in one of my classes, and he said, this is way harder than medical school. I don't know if he was right or not, because I've never been to medical school, but he did, no lie, he told me that this was harder. All right. Okay, so I don't see anything on the schedule for next week, but I'll be here. because, you know, I can't get enough of you guys. So what we'll do is we'll have another review session. If there is any subject you want me to go over again, please Slack the class so the entire class can see, and maybe we can vote on what we want to go over. All right. Cool. Okay. I've already sent out the repo even ahead of time. Look at that. I am well on my way. Okay. That is it. I have nothing else for you today. So I will see you all later. Have a great week, and code every day. It's the only way to get better.
Thanks, John.
Great,
Thanks
thank
very
you
much.
so
Thank
much,
you,
John.
John.
Thank
Thanks,
you
John.
all.
Thank
You're the
you, John.
best.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.